And there we are. Coast to Coast Combat Hour. Ed Carbajal here, as always, with Matthew Hawkins. Lots to go over coming out of UFC 260. Bellator returns this weekend. Before we move forward, really quick, I spoke with CFFC new middleweight champion Aaron Jeffrey yesterday. That should be out on SureDog.com soon when you, by the time you listen to this. So the audio version of that interview will be on the audio version of this podcast when you guys listen to it. But this podcast is brought to you by AllAccessMMA.com. Make sure you follow All Access MMA for your MMA news. Matt, so what's good, man?
Man, exciting last week or so here between, well, since we last talked, the UFC tickets went on sale for UFC 261, full crowd Jacksonville, and I messaged you. I messaged a couple other people that was the highest ticket. I'd never seen ticket demand that high since UFC 205 for me in New York City. So I don't check. I know some of the UK and Australian events have had some crazy sales, but to see the ticket slide, the price slide all the way up, even for face value tickets, was crazy. And as a result, it basically sold. I mean, it essentially sold out during the pre-sale on Wednesday, and they were only piecemealing out some random seats over the next couple days. So really crazy. Kind of surprised me. Didn't expect that kind of demand.
Not at all. I mean, I know you were messaging me, and I was kind of just like, I mean, you're one of those guys that's hunting tickets like as soon as you get any sort of whiff of tickets. So I was kind of like, oh, all right, I wasn't really paying it any mind. But then when I saw major outlets and then Dana White tweeting that they sold out within minutes, I was just like, holy shit. I guess people really want to get out of their houses.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I know is buying tickets for fights, and it just was weird how quick they went, and I was lucky to secure some early on and got a reasonable price for my tickets, at least the lowest price that you could get for the face value of my section. But just crazy to see how it went, and I just, last thing I expected, honestly, was it that quick of a sellout. Yeah. I thought over time people would, there'd take some word of mouth, people talking about it, people kind of contemplating it over a day or two, but it's shocking how quick they went. So that was Wednesday. And then over the weekend, the event we had talked about, UFC 260. Yeah. We have a new heavyweight champion of the world right now, and somebody I'd say we could confidently say is probably the number one heavyweight on the planet right now. I mean, there's nobody in Bellator, there's nobody in any other organizations right now that I think a reasonable argument would be made that they could be ranked higher than Ngannou on a worldwide scale. So
I mean, crazy. You had said last week how we kind of needed like a modern day Tank Abbott, but I mean, not for nothing, in that fight we saw him. I mean, credit to Miocic for taking all the shots that he took before he got put away. But I mean, now we have a guy that's not just a dangerous puncher in MMA, but I mean, he's worked on his takedown defense. So many people were saying the patient Francis Ngannou is the scarier Francis Ngannou. And I mean, which makes sense. The guy with all that mass, I mean, he's conserving his energy. I mean, now it's like, what's next? It looks like either Derek Lewis is next, or we're going to get a super fight with John Jones, which it seems like, I don't know. I don't know what's happening with that.
I've said it since day one. If John Jones wanted to be the baddest man on the planet, he would have been the baddest man on the planet a long time ago. And basically that's the heavyweight division. I think a lot of it's, I understand he's put on this weight, but a lot of it's, and he should get paid properly for what he's doing. But I don't know. If Ngannou can stop takedowns, especially, from guys not the size of Brock Lesnar, then I don't know how many people are going to beat him. I mean, to me, Lewis kind of has really the best shot as far as a puncher goes, just because he's not going to fear him. And he also swings hammers. So if he's able to get inside maybe a little bit, because I'd imagine just based off their body types, Ngannou's got a little bit of a reach on him, that if he get inside and get something landed, he might be able to hurt Ngannou. But other than that, right now, I don't see anybody who's really going to beat him. short of, like I said, just getting caught by a big
Mhm.
punch from a big puncher. And to me, Lewis is really that only that guy.
And we had that fight already too. I mean,
yeah, and Lewis won.
yeah,
He won a
yeah,
decision, but it was boring as hell. Both guys were gun shy.
yeah.
It was one of the worst fights in the history of the sport. But I feel like that still is kind of developing into a fun fight right now. Somebody like Volkov is somebody that's maybe interesting because of his height and his length and his ability to what he did to Overeem in his last fight.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of gets a little creative there, but I don't see a lot of guys. I don't know if John Jones can beat Ngannou if he has to stay on the feet. I don't know if really, I just don't think Jones has that one punch hurted 270-pound heavyweight punching power or elbow power, anything on the feet.
And I know he was really not vocal, but active on his social media after Dana White insinuated that maybe it'd be better for him to avoid Ngannou altogether, insinuating that he's scared and what have you. But one of the things he was saying was like, it's not just power shots or whatever, it's technique, and and he's right about all that. I mean, a smart fighter is always going to beat, just the raw power and skill or whatever, most of the time. But we kept saying puncher's chance, and when you add that with somebody that's just I mean, what has he been training 5-6 years, so he's going to get better. I don't know if you saw that video of him and Teddy Atlas.
No, that's what I was just going to bring up. Incredible.
Yeah.
And I can watch that for days.
That's the left hook that he landed that caught because he wasn't winding it up, and like everything Atlas told him not to do. He was firing it off right from here unexpectedly. And I mean, it's crazy, like you said. And so he's obviously a good student too. And those make for dangerous fighters at a competitive level. But I'm excited to see what they do with the heavyweight division. Going to be a while before they figure anything out with all the other cards and stuff coming up. But I mean, I know that there's other stuff that went on that we could talk for hours about with Jaron Villel's horrible refereeing and other stuff going on. But let's
forgot about that one.
But we got some, as things are slowly getting back to normal, Bellator MMA comes back this weekend, and in my neck of the woods over here on the East Coast, so I couldn't be more excited for that. Written a lot about them over at MMAnews.com, and normally I'm there to cover events, but I think I need to get that vaccine before I can, lessen my time. But I mean, it's Friday night Bellator, which I certainly love. So Bellator sent out this thing as a marketing, so we're going to use it as our background for the event. So let's bring that up to help us do our preview of the card. I mean, there's a lot of Bellator news this week, obviously. I know you were just looking at their Bellator is starting to do their own rankings, like the UFC does rankings. And what do you think of them? I mean, I know people are questioning the welterweight one.
Yeah, so you sent me the link before we started recording. It's kind of the first time I've looked at anything other than I saw the women's and men's pound for pound list flash over Twitter, but I honestly didn't look it up. I'd seen a couple of them now that I look at it. But, the thing is that due to inactivity, fighters can be left off of it. I think you were telling me it was 15 months was the cutoff. So just right off the bat, for the welterweight, I noticed that there was no Lorenz Larkin and Korshkov. Korshkov just fought in Russia, so I don't know if that counts. I don't know if he's even still technically under contract with Bellator.
No, I'm pretty sure Bellator fights are what they're looking at.
Okay,
it's a Bellator rankings,
and that would make sense. Yeah, but as far as activity goes, if they loan somebody off, my understanding was he was allowed to fight in Russia with permission from Bellator to keep active at a time where travel is hard. So that's the only thing I noticed. I mean, you probably looked at him over more than me. You had mentioned welterweight, and with those two guys in there, they currently have Michael Venom Page, MVP, ranked as the number one contender, behind the champion Douglas Lima. I mean, I think it's a rematch we eventually should see because of the way the first one ended, but that's kind of jumps out at me. Anything specific other than those items that you kind of mentioned to me earlier that I just repeated?
I mean, no, I mean, outside of that, I'm not too I'm not too it's the first rankings they put out, and they're obviously with they're throwing 3 events at us like in the next couple of weeks, so these are obviously going to change.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I wanted to point out is for the men's pound for pound, James Lynch, who's been on the podcast, and I worked with him over at MMA News. I transcribed his interview. He interviewed Patricio Pitbull, and he talked to him about. I don't know if you saw how there was like a discrepancy or what have you with where he's ranking on Tapology, versus like his view of where he should be ranked and what have you. So when James spoke with him, he mentioned how he thought that Bellator's rankings would be a little bit better, only because of the folks that are on the panel, which they did announce. You can check on their when they announced that they're going to do this. The people that were going to be on the panels, they listed them so that you know who they are. And if you look at them, I mean, folks that have been on this podcast, like Nolan King, are on the panel, and a couple of other guys that not only for a fact that they're watching the sport and they are watching Bellator MMA. Because if you look at the guys that do like the UFC rankings, some of the names I don't even. First of all, I have no idea who they are. Secondly, some of them, not all of them, some of them I do know who they are, but I know for a fact, because I know who they are, I know that they're not even watching the UFC fights when they're happening. Which who's to say they're not watching them later, but they're definitely like they're favoring boxing and pro wrestling and other things over what they have a say in their ranking. And one of my bosses, as you know, Eric Kowal, put the UFC rankings system on blast towards the end of last year, because he was on the rankings panel and saw how messed up it was and kind of walked away from it, asked to be removed from it. So that's from over at My MMA News. So it's kind of like, I mean, and there's a couple of articles written about it based on his experience. So I don't mind these rankings. Again, they're new, and with the events coming up, we're gonna have there's gonna be a lot of shuffling about. But it's nice to see that Bellator is kind of getting their stuff primed and ready to be more in competition with the UFC, especially with this move to Showtime.
Yeah, that's right. We go to Showtime this Friday for the first time, so have to get that dialed in. Yeah, and you're not joking about the UFC voters for their rankings. I don't know the current list exactly or how much of it's changed, but in the very recent past, like there was a famous radio talk show host, FM talk show morning host, that was getting a vote out here. I know in the San Diego area, and I would say the guy is about as casual a fan as ever. There might have been a time when the Chuck Liddell era, where he was kind of following it more, but I don't think he could tell you who 95% of the roster is currently.
Yeah.
And he probably couldn't tell you who the majority of the champions are. And that's that. So I can definitely support what you say is about, them being jokers and it not being a serious vote at all. So that's the cool thing, like you said, about this. I think there's gonna be fights now that are gonna shuffle this up and really kind of put it in cement a little bit more. Fedor seems. This is gonna shock everybody, but I think Fedor is probably highly ranked on here. Him being 4 is probably not right. I mean, there's some guys listed below him that I probably wouldn't want to see him get into the cage with. So, yeah, but we hear rumors today that Junior Dos Santos might be signing with Bellator as a Fedor opponent. So,
I wouldn't mind that at all.
No, that's fun. That's fun. Win or lose, that's fun. So that's looking forward in the future. So yeah, and then now we got the Bellator event this Friday. Pitbull versus Emmanuel Sanchez 2 World Grand Prix semifinals get going. I like how we're getting this tournament wrapping up, moving along again. Totally was interrupted for basically the whole year due to COVID, but these events they've got announced this month are pretty loaded. I think Romero and Rumble got postponed a couple weeks. I think until the 9th of May, I want to say. But other than that, I mean, this main card. You got an undefeated Nurmagomedov making his debut. But the heavyweight fights, you got Tyrell Fortune coming in. He's rebounding. He had his loss to Timothy Johnson. He fights Jack May, who's been a last minute replacement, late minute replacement, who actually fought Fortune a couple Bellators ago, and the fight ended on a grind strike, no contest. Kind of feel sorry for Jack May. He got basically put on a stretcher in bare knuckle, and he's been on a kind of a tough run. I don't see how his luck turns here. I think Fortune had his loss, and now he's going to continue to grow and learn. I don't see him losing this fight against somebody who's not going to be able to stop his wrestling.
Yeah, no, that's I'm on the same page there with that pick. I mean, I like Tyrell Fortune. I mean, he's definitely he's one of those fighters that I remember when I forget who he fought. It might have been his debut. I think it was on the card where Liam McGeary lost his title to Phil Davis. I forget the event number, but I'm pretty sure it was that same card. But I was just impressed with not just his wrestling, but I think I've said it. I might have said it here before. Wrestlers have some explosive power that they seem so unaware of that when they learn to strike, it's like knockout power comes naturally to them. So I like how he's rounding out as a mixed martial artist. It was
his debut, UFC Bellator 163 on that McGeary Davis card. You're correct about that. So yeah, no, he continues to improve, and like I said, I think the loss, although it was brutal, wasn't the worst thing that could have happened. One of my favorites, Alejandra Lara, returns to the cage against Kana Watanabe. Lara coming off of a tremendous performance where
she's my favorite too.
Domination over Vita Ortega. Currently ranked. I have to go back to the rankings. I believe she was number 9, and Watanabe is. It actually might be the women's. Watanabe is obviously undefeated and got a huge run going with already one win in Bellator. I'm going to go with Alejandra Lara. Her performance against Ortega was dominating. I thought it was the best evolution of what she's become.
It was Vita, right? Vita Ortega?
Uh-huh. Yeah. In a fight, I don't think a lot of people thought Lara. I think they thought Lara was had reached her pinnacle and was going to start getting picked away by some of the top contenders.
And Vita's tough as nails.
Exactly. So actually, Lara's ranked 4th in the women's flyweight, and Watanabe's ranked 5th. So we talk about a fight that's going to shake up the rankings. Although neither woman will drop too far.
Kana Watanabe. All right. So, my boy Neiman Gracie versus Jason Jackson. Right? That's still confirmed, right? Yeah. I know they updated the card today, so
it's going down. This fight got moved to the co-main event.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go against a New York City jiu-jitsu guy. So
yeah, and I hate going against a Gracie, but I think I am. Jackson's been kicking ass, man. Big win streak right now over Henderson, Maine, and Kunimoto. Dominant in all those. His only loss right now in recent memories to Ed Ruth, and it was a split decision. And I thought he won that fight. So I'm gonna go with Jason Jackson. I think he's gonna be able to avoid the ground, and I think he's gonna pick up a decision win in this fight.
I mean, it's not unheard of.
No. I mean, he's obviously a high level fighter. I'd like to see Gracie win. I just think Jackson's kind of his momentum is moving nicely right now.
Yeah. No, I mean, I already said my piece on that. Well, he's technically, I think he lives in Jersey too. I know he trains at Almeida's in South Jersey, but either way, I mean, I like Neiman. I like, I don't like to go against my brother trains at Holes Gracie's, so I can't I can't go against the it's like me rooting for someone, like, I'm not that I'm into football, but like local sports, when like if I was walking around with the Dallas Cowboys jersey on here in New Jersey, I'd probably get jumped. So that's why I got to root for Neiman Gracie. Did we already look at? I know we briefly looked at Usman.
I mean the Nurmagomedov and Hamill fight. I mean,
man, they got to get a picture up there.
Yeah, he's making his debut in Bellator, 11-0. I think he wins this fight pretty handily. Hamill coming off of a loss to Adam Borix. I think this is kind of a showcase fight for Nurmagomedov.
Yeah, could probably be in his corner since that's his new role now. And then the main event, Pitbull versus Sanchez. Again, I don't remember. Was that like the first fight? Was it fun? I don't remember it.
First fight was extremely close.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it was a split decision, but it was basically 3 rounds to 2. I mean, here's the thing about MMA. Whenever something feels like it makes the most sense, it never friggin' does. So right now, in a perfect world, Pitbull wins. He fights AJ McKee in the final. We get a solution to that. It makes sense because he's number 1 pound for pound. He's number 1 ranked in his division. He's the champion. The guy he's got the biggest win over in his career is now fighting for the lightweight championship in the UFC, and Michael Chandler. So what's going to happen? I think Emmanuel Sanchez is going to win a decision and derail all of that and go on and fight AJ McKee in the finals. I think AJ McKee gets through his side of the bracket.
Well, he's waiting on these guys. I mean,
is he already in the final?
Yeah, that's where the winner of this faces him, and then that's that.
Yeah, I should have known that. But yeah, then I think Sanchez pulls off the upset and just throws everything we've talked about between rankings and Michael Chandler and the grudge match between the Pitbulls and McKee and
yeah.
And I think that's what happened. So I'm gonna take Sanchez by decision, kind of shocking the world.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to disagree with you on that one. Watching, so I do the transcription for James Lynch over at MMAnews.com. So he interviewed both of these guys, and all that's up on that website if you want to check it out. My thing was like they both seem to have the same opinion of each other. That's number one that I took away from it. They both think neither fighter has evolved enough from their last fight. So if they're both saying the same thing, then we're probably going to get the same result. That's the only reason why I'm saying that. Number 2 is when I look at the wins, because obviously Sanchez's last loss was to Pitbull, and then he's won everything else after that. When I look at their wins, I think if I'm remembering correctly, Pitbull has a couple of more finishes, or at least one more finish than Sanchez has gotten. And I'm a fan of finishers. So plus, Patricio has this. I don't know if he really has nothing to prove holding 2 titles, but he's kind of on this thing. I mean, Chandler's riding that wave over at the UFC, and there's that whole thing where Dana White acted like he didn't know who Patricio was. I feel like in the back of his mind, he's got something to prove to the entire sport to kind of make a statement like, not only am I going to make it to the finals of this tournament, but I'm going to make a statement, because he made a statement when he knocked out Carvalho in the first round. I thought that fight would have been more of a, you know what I mean? So I don't know. I'm leaning more Pitbull only because of if neither man has changed and both of them have the same opinion, then we're going to get the same result. I don't see a finish happening. I think it's going to be another war. But
the interesting thing, just glancing here, so their first bout, Sanchez was even money bet. Plus 100, and Pitbull was a slight favorite at minus 120. In the rematch, after both fighters are pretty much, cleaned house to get here, now Pitbull is a minus 325, while Sanchez is a plus 250. So big shift. I mean, the first fight, Pitbull hurt him early, and then Sanchez rallied. But so we'll see. I've learned that when you think something makes sense, it just doesn't.
No, that's actually, you said that really well. Actually, I can't help but agree with anything you said, because it's definitely something that seems to hold a lot of truth. I'm just bringing up the prelims real quick because there's some pretty good fights on there. Our boy Magomed, yeah. Mandel Nalo versus Ricardo Sanchez is another one that should be. These are all on the YouTube channel, by the way. So if you don't sign up for the Showtime thing, it's going to be on 6 p.m. Eastern on the Bellator YouTube channel. And then I've always liked Roger Huerta fight. I know he's not the Sports Illustrated Roger Huerta from back in the day, but I mean he's one of those guys that kind of was the emergence of the modern mixed martial artist in my book. I mean he's fighting a 5-0 Chris Gonzalez. I don't know what that says about what's going on there, but I mean I always when I see his name I get nostalgia. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, first name that jumped out at me when I looked at the prelims. So, and then I see Nalo getting that fight coming off of obviously taking care of a grind shot to Syed. So those things that, I noticed immediately. Don't know a lot of these other guys, just to be blatantly honest. But I think it's going to be an exciting night of fights. This is Showtime this Friday night. Pitbull versus Sanchez 2.
Yeah. I mean, just with the move to Showtime, I've written a bunch of articles with the link for folks to get that $4.99 a month deal for 6 months, 30-day free trial, and $4.99 a month for 6 months off of Showtime. I mean, where else can you save money watching MMA these days since it costs so goddamn much now to try to watch fights?
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, I don't know what's left to talk about other than, I mean, the other news was that, I mean, we were supposed to get, Yoel Romero and Rumble Johnson at the next event, but it got pushed back to 258, I believe now.
Yeah,
so 3 events later.
Week of May. So
because that's what I wanted to mention because of travel issues. So at the beginning of this, I mentioned the interview, and again, the folks on the audio version are going to hear Aaron Jeffrey's story, but with everything going on, when you listen to his story, it kind of made me, which is why I'm glad I spoke to him and wrote the article. Hopefully it gets published in Sherdog, soon this week, because it's something that definitely needs to be heard across the sport with events trying to move forward during a time where it just seems hard enough to get out of your goddamn house. I mean, we're gonna take it with a grain of salt, you know what I mean? Like these changes that we get, because I mean, it's either, these guys got to look for something else to do, or they have to go through the plot line of planes, trains, and automobiles to get to their fights.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, we don't know all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes, so you've given us a little bit of a sneak peek into some of the realities of what's going on, especially for these guys not fighting for organizations with private jets to get them around the world, and the power to be able to basically move legislation to go their way. So no, I look forward to listening to it. That's Aaron Jeffrey, the CFFC middleweight champion. Check us out as always on All Access MMA, the home of our video podcast, and also your home for MMA news. Follow me, Matthew Hawkins, at MMAHawk21 on Twitter and Instagram. You can follow Ed at Carbazol on Twitter, Carbeerzol on Instagram, and Old Head Carb on Twitch. Till next weekend, we got we'll talk about Bellator, and then we start to gear up for another UFC event, UFC on ABC, which one final note, lost its headliner today with Darren Till dropping out.
Yeah.
So we will see how that unfolds and what we have to talk about next week.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of why I brought up the Aaron Jeffrey interview again, because, I mean, that's due to injury, but imagine all the other stuff that's going to happen between now and then. It's almost like a running joke, right? Exactly. Like, you know what I mean? It's like this weird thing, and it gets to the point. That's why UFC 259 was so unique. It was almost like this weird, like light shining on everything's going to get better, and then it went right back to it.
And never forget the jinx that I managed to put on events. I'm sure UFC 261 is going to end up headlined by,
Oh man, I forgot about that. I completely forgot about that.
Oh, I'm taking the jinx right into COVID. We might end up with like a 4-fight main card.
You're gonna land in Florida, and Florida's gonna fall right into the ocean.
They're gonna announce 17 people missed weight by the time I got off my plane.
All right, cool. Well, we'll see you next week.
All right, take it easy.